Scotty Barnes! The Raptors and Cavs series is not as sweet as it looks. Scotty Barnes and the Raptors are dogs. And I know what everyone's saying. Cavs in 4, Cavs in 5, Cavs in 6. No. Raptors in 6. Raptors in 6. I really don't think this is as sweet as it looks. I know the other Cavs have James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Jalen Tyson, Max Struth, Dean Wade, all these players, Dennis Schroeder, Keon Ellis, a lot of great players. I love the Cavs. I think they're great. I love James Harden. I love Donovan Mitchell. I love Evan Mobley. Jared Allen's a great guy. I love him wearing his Kyries. But I really think people downplay the Raptors. I know they're a weird team and they're not like very well traditionally constructed. They don't really have a real center as of right now. Their Jakob Poeltl has been in and out of the lineup all year. They love a big old bunch of wings. They got Colin Murray Boyles, Scotty Barnes, R.J. Barrett, Brandon Ingram. Just a big old lineup with no center. But that's not going to hide from the fact that these are dogs. These are dogs out there, and I'm betting my money on the Raptors to win this series, and I really can't wait to see it. If you just think about this whole season for the Raptors, is going to be completely unexpected. In the offseason last year, no one really knew what was meant to be expected. No one knew if hey, is this going to be a playoff team? Is this going to be a play-in team? Is this going to be a lottery team? How well is Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, and RJ Barrett going to all mix together? And what a surprise. It worked out. And now they were, at one point this season, I believe the 2 seed. They were absolutely dominant this season in comparison to their past couple of years. And they're finally looking at a secured playoff spot in the 5 seed? 5 seed, yeah. And that's just like a great spot. Like the Raptors have, they need that. The franchise, they don't get in a whole lot of players through free agency, or the only way they can do it through the draft or trade, and they just haven't been hitting too much on that recently. And now they finally did. They have Scotty Barnes, a future player staple for this team, and Brandon Ingram. They traded for last year, who has been great this season, All Star, 2 All Stars this season. RJ Barrett's been a bit iffy, but he comes out there and he can move some offense around. He can do a couple of things, and I really people this team is slept on for the playoffs. I think this team has a great playoff recipe. Maybe not as good as maybe not good enough to be a contender or a top team. I don't really see them making it out past the second round, but I think this team is really able to go out there and do something, and especially if the Cavs have always had some injury problems in the playoffs. There's been a lot of reliance on Donovan Mitchell going out to the end. Evan Mobley, Jared Allen in and out all the time. James Harden's already dealing with a crazy injury on his hand, and we don't know how he's going to play because he also is just not known as a great playoff performer. James Harden has never been that, but this is a different series. This is a different type of series for James Harden, especially because this is the first time that I think can remember that James Harden really isn't the number one offensive guy, besides maybe back when he was playing with Joel Embiid on the 76ers. But he is not the main scorer in this series, so maybe that could relieve some pressure, but he is still dealing with a lot of injury in his hand, and I don't know how he's going to play with that. And if the bigs can't stay healthy, Evan Mobley's had a couple injuries this season, I think. And, Jared Allen and all them, Jared Allen's not, my lights may be a little too bright for him. So that's a big concern for me. And I just think the recipe for the Raptors is underrated. Just the Raptors have a elite defensive player, Scotty Barnes, easy all defensive first team player. In my opinion, a top 3 defender in this on the planet right now. It goes Victor Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren, Scotty Barnes, and Scotty Barnes might be over Chet. Hell, he might be over Wemby because Scotty Barnes' defensive versatility is so very good. I love the dominance, and I just love everything about Scotty Barnes. One of my favorite players in the league, absolutely. And with that elite defense coming from Scotty Barnes and all these wings that can play a little defense, they could mess up a Donovan Mitchell or a James Harden. There's a lot of switchability on this team that could prevent those 2 guards from scoring. They don't have a lot of backline defense with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, but if Jakob Poeltl is at least playing and having a big body out there, I think they could still do stuff around. And if they could just make it trouble for the ball to get to those players and really cause James Harden or Donovan Mitchell trouble and make it difficult for Evan Mobley or Jared Allen to receive the ball throughout the game, that is definitely something that, you know, could be a great recipe for success there. And that defense is definitely something that I really am a fan of. And I also think that their offense is really solid for the playoffs. They have a decent half court offensive creator in Brandon Ingram, one of my favorite players again in the league. I love the smoothness. I love Brandon Xavier Ingram coming down, dribbling on you, hitting that tough mid range shot. And that is a go to shot that he's able to hit. And I don't know if anyone can really guard that on the opposing Cavs team, especially if like if they're going against the starters with Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, or like, I don't really know who's going to tackle really anything that's going on with Brandon Ingram there and RJ Barrett. It really, a lot of this does depend on what type of RJ Barrett we see. Are we going to see Star J Barrett? Or are we going to see RJ Barrett? Because we don't know. I don't know how much his offense is really going to translate to the playoffs. How well he's going to really perform. I'm hoping for a lot from him. This might be his last season with the Raptors, but it's been great. When he has his highs and his lows have been pretty bad. And if we do have a high here, this is just another reason for me to go for the Raptors. And I really just think that the rookie has been great this season. Colin Murray Boyles, Manuel quickly is a solid point guard. Definitely not worth all the money that he makes, but he is able to generate some type of punch for the team. He is a quick fella. Jamal Shed, love Jamal Shed. You got Svi Mikhailuk. No, Sandra Mamunkashila. I get all those people mixed up. I'm sorry. The you know who I'm talking about. A bunch of like bench players that can also create some value and add more defensive versatility. If you put CMB in a lineup, you could have him as a back end defender, and he's probably not going to hold his own against Evan Mobley or Jared Allen, but he could make things more difficult with a combination of Scotty Barnes on the court. I think that defense is really, really good. And another thing that's slept on is Scotty Barnes' playmaking. Scotty Barnes, especially the last half of the season, Scotty Barnes has been dishing out assists left and right. He's had like 15 assist games. He's a really solid rebound. He had like a 30 rebound game this season. I love the versatility of Scotty Barnes. He can go out there and give you a little bit of everything. He can score. You can pencil him in 15 points, 4 stocks, uh, 7 assists, 8 rebounds, just an all around great player. And he can even ascend higher than that. He can have a series possibly where he averages 25 points per game. I don't know. We haven't really seen Scotty Barnes as his full self in the playoffs, and he could really come out there and really wow us this time. And I think his game will translate great to the playoffs. I think Raptors are sneakily underrated, and I think the defense played on James Harden is going to really mess up their whole playmaking scheme of the thing. And we're going to have to rely a lot on Donovan Mitchell. And I never want to count out Donovan Mitchell because he is such an insane playoff performer. I mean, if I had to bet who's going to drop the first 40 or 50-point game in the playoffs, I would put my money on Donovan Mitchell, even though he's going against this Raptors defense, who I really truly believe in. I think Donovan Mitchell just can't be stopped by anyone. He can get downhill, create shots, but if his team around him is not, which is a recipe we've seen last year, even and all the years before that, if no one else is coming around and putting in the offensive punch that they need to, which I think is a possibility when it comes to Scotty Barnes and this Raptors team defending everyone else, I think we might see a lesser series from Evan Mobley or James Harden. Evan Mobley is someone that everyone has always wanted to take more shots, and I really do think that Scotty Barnes can get in there and rough things up. CMB can rough things up. Brandon Ingram can play a little defense. Jamal Shed can get some steals, and I think if even if Donovan Mitchell is dropping 40-point games, if no one else is contributing to that, I think the Raptors can get an all around victory by like a team by committee team win. And I think a lot of people count that out because a lot of people look at the star power when they're entering into a series. Because realistically, the both two of the best players, some would say even three of the best players in this series are all on the Cavs, with like James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley. I would personally put Scotty Barnes above Evan Mobley, at least this season. Last season it was a different story, but nonetheless, that's still like an overwhelmingly way more talent on the Cavs side. I think that the synergy with the Raptors is unexpectedly as good as it is, and I think they could really come out there and do something to disrupt this offense as much as it is an offensive juggernaut. And the main thing that I'm banking on here is, it's I hate to say it, but it's part of the game is James Harden's hand. There is I have to factor in James Harden's hand when I come to a conclusion in the series. James Harden is when the move was made this deadline, I was a big like, oh my gosh, Cavs are gonna run the East. But then James Harden goes out there and he gets injured, and it's just like really difficult on his hand if what he's gonna do. And now it's just up to Donovan Mitchell in the other guard rotation, Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis, and those are two small players. And I think having a lot of these switchable, rangy wings on the Raptors, as long as other great defenders there's like nothing I see really Keon Ellis or Dennis Schroeder doing off the bench. James Harden, I think, is going to be very limited with his hand. And if James Harden's limited, that means the bigs are also limited. So that literally just leaves Donovan Mitchell, which I never want to count out Donovan Mitchell, even though he's never really went out there and proven like, I'm a championship player. We all know deep down that Donovan Mitchell is a championship type of player. And he's just been let down in multiple series by his teammates, whether that's due to injury or just the lights being too bright. But I just I don't want to count out the Cavs. That's why I say Raptors in 6. I don't think this can be a sweep. This could even go to 7, really, realistically. And if it does go to 7, I would probably bet on Donovan Mitchell pulling that one out just because of his clutch performances. I remember what was it? Was it Christmas? Christmas, New York versus Cavs, where Donovan Mitchell pulled it out, or no? I think he had a great performance at the end. Either way, Donovan Mitchell is someone I trust in the clutch. I think his shot making is great. His athleticism is great. He just always looks like he's ready to dominate a game. But I'm really high on Scotty Barnes. I'm really high on Brandon Ingram. I'm really high on this Raptors team, and I would not count them out to win this series. And I think this will be my favorite first round matchup series, besides maybe Timberwolves and Nuggets. But I really do love this matchup, and I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. And even if you look back at the game log this season, I'm pretty sure the Raptors have dominated the Cavs every time they've played them. They haven't played them with James Harden yet. It was only in the first half of the season before the trade deadline. So it's obviously going to be different now, but I believe in the Raptors. I think the Raptors can come out and really mess them up. And that's where my money's at right now. Scotty Barnes for Defensive Player of the Year. Whoop, whoop.